Yeah. Okay. Good day, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today in our very great session, Urban and Regional Scientific Forum, International Lecture Series for Series 3, Community Climate Change Resilient. On behalf of Department of Urban and Regional Planning, Diponegoro University, I am Mada Sophianingrum. I will be your moderator during this session. Okay, so I think we can start for our first presentation. I will like to invite Bu Jenia. So I should call you Jenia or
Yes.
okay. So okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, let me hello Bu Jenia. So let me read a little bit your CV. So everyone in this session will know who is Ibu Jenia. Yeah, please. Okay, so yeah, his short CV. Let me read a little bit. So we have Ibu Jenia Mukherjee, PhD. She is assistant professor in Department of Humanity and Social in Science in the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. And now she got the PhD from Jadavpur University, and then with the title of the dissertation is Development and Planning, Social Biography of the Canals and Wetland of Kolkata. So very related with our today conversation. And then she get very much award and fellowship in the French Embassy and the AAD fellowship, etc. And then now she is assistant professor in the Department of Humanity and Social Science, Indian Institute of Technology. So we have also selected publication from her about the living system infrastructure and important performance of analysis assess community. So I don't want to take so many times for read your CV. So I would like to invite you to give us your lecture. So the time is yours, Jenia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mada, very much for the kind introduction. And I would also like to offer my heartfelt thank you and gratitude to YY and Landong, for organizing this international lecture series. And I see that this is the urban and regional center on climate change, which does its research on climate change. And this lecture, very interestingly, though it is not typically anchored within the urban context, but it has an urban connection as well. So with this, I would like you to introduce to the geographical context of the Sundarbans. So Sundarbans, as you all know, it is the largest mangroves delta in the world. And just, yeah, I hope you can see my presentation, right? See the slides?
Yes, we can see
Yes.
it clear. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So Sundarbans, I think it's transboundary in the sense that it spans across two countries, India and Bangladesh. So Bangladesh was previously part of India, but after India got partition, so India was divided into India and Pakistan, and later between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, because Bangladesh also came out of Pakistan in 1971. So if you see this, tapestry, this geographical, regional, dimension or setting of this particular land waterscape, so you can see that it's a liminal hybrid scape because it's a delta ecology. So different rivers, very mighty rivers of, which is known as the like Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna basin. So that is also the largest, delta basin in the world. So, and they are all like silt-laden rivers. So these rivers get bifurcated into multiple streams and inlets and canals, and this, delta space, it has formed, and it is a very dynamic space. So continuous land formation and dissolution takes place in this area. And today, we are in the Anthropocene, and there are so many crises, so many challenges, natural hazards, disasters, are taking place. And transboundary Sundarbans is a very volatile climate hotspot. So this will become extremely clear if we take a look into the cyclones, the super cyclones, which had recently hit, this particular delta ecology. But another very important point which I would like to discuss is that though this is a very volatile climate hotspot, a vulnerable space, but at the same time, it is very, very thickly, densely populated by human beings. So Sundarbans, the 2.5 million people stay in the Bangladeshi part of Sundarbans, which is this area, and 5 million people stay in, the Sundarbans bioreserve region, which is in the Indian, which is the Indian counterpart of transboundary Sundarbans. So this is very, very thickly loaded, and you can understand that people, communities, they are ecosystem dependent communities. But now they are under threats because just, if we take, just 2 decades, not even 2 full decades, but 2009, Aila, super cyclone Aila, which is a severe cyclonic storm, which it hit different parts of both, Indian and Bangladeshi Sundarbans, followed by Bulbul just after 10 years in 2019, followed by Amphan 2020 in the middle of COVID, and then Yash 2021. So you can see how, this region, this, transboundary Sundarbans is continuously getting affected by one super cyclone and the other. So there are increased risks of tidal surges and sea level rise, and all these kind of hazards and disasters affecting homes, properties, and livelihoods of people, most important. So now I will, actually this particular presentation will be here. I will be focusing on, concentrating on a very small village. But then we would also discuss, maybe during the question and answer session as well, about the scalability of this project. So before that, I also want to give you a context. Now, as I discussed, that Sundarbans is a very volatile climate vulnerable hotspot. So in response to all this crisis, the bureaucrats and the policymakers, they have come up with this discourse of what they call managed retreat. And this is very much, this has come from the WWF Delta Vision Plan. And this managed retreat is a strategic planning which they offer, to offer to the governments, to the community as well, where they say that, as this space has become extremely volatile, so there is no other option but to fall back to this particular strategic planning, which is managed retreat. Now, what is managed retreat? Managed retreat is actually a complex, multi-step process where first the climate scientists, by using, prediction and simulation models, they try to come up with data and figures on climate change. Followed by this, then the more vulnerable spaces are demarcated. So, the demarcation is done in the sense that, the more vulnerable, the moderately vulnerable, and the low vulnerable patches are then identified. So once this demarcation and identification is done, then the next step is phased and planned relocation of people. Now, what was very problematic and what is still very problematic for us, mainly as social scientists, is that, who engage with the community, who talk to this community, is that in this discourse of managed retreat, where are the aspirations and voices of the people, of the community? So if even they are moved to higher grounds, so what will they do when they move there? And would they find alternative livelihoods on occupations? And most importantly, do the community or the inhabitants, do they really want to move and shift? So where is the space to accommodate these community voices, aspirations, interests, needs, and requirements? So this is a question that we ask. And within the context of this question, then we gradually move on, to kind of think about, conceptualize, and formulate what is known as social resilience, as against, which we actually, kind of pit against that managed retreat strategic planning discourse. So now, what is social resilience? So I think this discussion is going on at the global scale in the last one and a half decade, and we'll find rich literature now on social resilience, by many German scholars, but also people from other parts of the world. So this is something which climate scientists and which resilience scholars are discussing. They are coming from different backgrounds. They're actually discussing social resilience. But what again I would like to offer is that our understanding of social resilience, of course, we derive insights, we derive inputs from this rich literature, but at the same time, our understanding of social resilience is very, very situated. It's very, very place-based. So by this, I mean, what we learn from the people when we talk to them, when we go to these spaces, when we make a move in these, vulnerable villages. So the stories that we hear from the people, the discussions that we have with them, and the kind of things, the experiments, several other things, their livelihood practices that we observe and see by ourselves as participant, researchers, that has to a great extent shaped our own understanding about social resilience. So this is a quote, this is a remark from one of the elderly villagers from Kumirmari. So Kumirmari is again one of the villages from the very remote and most vulnerable blocks in the Indian Sundarbans. So if you can concentrate on this remark, you see what he said. He said that cyclones hit us hard and snatch away everything from us. And then the increasing threats of tiger attacks in the forest, fishing on one hand and the brutal forest officers on the other. Yet we prefer staying here. We don't like to migrate. We would like to stay here. This is our land, our habitat, and we know the rhythms of the delta. Many of us have shifted to inland fishing in our household premises. We are constantly trying to cope against the risk basket thrust upon. So we found the understanding. If we just concentrate on this remark, we very quickly understand that this disaster risk reduction (DRR) approach, these unfortunately do not take into account all these different multi-layered complexities, and that is why this disaster risk reduction approach, they to a great extent rely on single disaster approach. By this I mean that when DRR plans are formulated and implemented, disasters are understood as single disaster events, and so the solution is like predict and provide. But if you take a look into this illustration, you can see that if you follow the blue arrows and the green arrows, so the blue arrows, it entails the mainstream understandings about climate risk. And how do we gather mainstream understanding? Through again these numbers, simulation-based predictions and numbers. And then we try to have our own understanding about climate risks. So because we have already predicted this, and this then forms the basis for climate policies and actions. We argue this is a very reductionist and linear approach, because if we are offering kind of solutions for particular climate vulnerable patches and spaces, then place-based understandings, needs-driven initiatives that the people are already applying over there, this understanding has to go into these discourses and policy briefs and policy discussions and actions. So if you see this green arrows and the green blocks, you see that how it is important to actually chip in, accommodate and account for, incorporate all the different layers of risks which are there, which exist in this kind of, very complex, very multi-layered, volatile geographies as part of both India and Bangladesh. So these understandings, these plural understandings and perceptions of multiple actors, need to shape, climate discourses and policies. And that is why I argue, for example, that, why a shift from DRR to social resilience can be a more viable transition or pathway, because it accommodates multiple disruptive risks, which is an enabler for us to understand Sundarbans and familiar geographies, like geographies, as riskscapes. So then we will try no more to predict and provide, but to respond and recover. And that is why how the communities can also be part of this entire exercise. So now I will come to the empirical part of it. So, this is a very new journey, I must say, because my, my friendship or my like YY as a colleague, all this happened because I basically come from the urban background. So that is where our similarity more is. But generally, gradually with time and with a little bit of experience, we also understand that, urban is not typically, again, restricted to city limits. But urban also, urban is also the relationship between cities and their wider ecological infrastructures. And that is why, not urban planning, but urban and regional planning becomes so very important. So my exposure to Sundarbans, actually, it's a very new exposure. So it mainly happened since 2018-19 with some projects which were hosted at my institute, and there were some social sciences components in those projects, and I was asked to kind of be part of those projects to offer some social sciences insight. But then I could not do much because my work is mainly on Kolkata's canal systems, wetlands, and other things related to cities of India. But then what happened is that we got some projects in the Sundarbans, and then there was the COVID crisis and lockdown, and we could not actually start doing the field work. But it was only in January 2021. This is actually the time period between the two COVID waves. So the first COVID wave succumbed by that time, and the next COVID wave was about to come in, April, May 2022. But in between the time that we got, so for the first time, actually, I started with my team, with my small research scholars team. We started meandering through the different, blocks and villages, the different river islands of the Sundarbans, and mainly in this, southern part of the delta. So southern part, you can see, is much more dynamic. So Sundarbans, again, you have to understand that it is not a sacrosanct, homogeneous, piece of land, but it is very, very heterogeneous. The island villages which are up above, which are in the northern part, close to Kolkata, close to the city of Kolkata, they are less vulnerable. And also, if there is a crisis, aid and relief can immediately reach in these particular places. But this place is very, very volatile because, you can see that, this is part of the active delta formation process. So we started meandering through these, these very remote and these southern river islands. And then we could visit few river islands. And then finally, we ended up, landing in this particular village, Kumirmari, which is a river island village from the remote, very remote, the remotest southernmost block of the Sundarbans, which is Gosa. So I will tell you that why our Kumirmari experience, the first time we visited Kumirmari was so very different, right? So because we were visiting several other river islands as well, but this island seemed to be very different from others. The most important reason being, in the climate resilience or climate risk literature, communities, unfortunately, are to a great extent portrayed and projected as victims, as mere victims, as passive spectators. They are just at the receiving end of climate risk. But in this island, when we started talking to the people, to the women, to the fishers, they told us that how they were actually improvising different livelihood practices, how they totally shifted now from forest fishing to inland fishing, and how they started experimenting in a very small scale way in their own household ponds with inland fishing. And they told us that we are doing this, these are being successful, but our request to you is that as we are not trained in inland fishing practices, because we are always traditionally we had been forest fishers, so we are very keen to know, learn and experiment. So can you help us? So can the scientific knowledge percolate and train us in such a way so that we can make profits, we can, ensure our livelihoods with this inland fishing. So we were very happy to see that, because we saw that, they are not passive spectators, but they are coping actors who want to get transitioned into adaptive managers. So together, through collaboration, through, co-engaging with, the community, and the community getting engaged with us, something can be done. So this is not the story of pessimism. This is not the story of declensionism, but this is the story of hope. This is the story of resilience. And this village is also unique in the sense that, there's one Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat is the lowest administrative unit, in the Indian political administrative structure. So this village is actually politically ruled by the Gram Panchayat, and it has 4,344 households, 3,000 ponds. So most of the households, they have a small pond in their premise, out of the premise, and there are also 26 locally excavated canals. So we could think that a lot can actually be done by using this ecosystem resource. So with this, we started coming back to this village. And time and again, we started engaging with the community, and the community engaged with us. And then we started having workshops at the local level, on-site workshops, and we started having workshops in Kolkata, and through a lot of PSM, participatory systems mapping methods, using several participatory systems mapping methods, apart from other qualitative methods such as focus group discussions, transit work, on-site, informal, semi-formal interviews, case studies, and case study narrative analysis. We applied multimodal methodologies to actually understand these dynamics of inland fishing in the village of Diponegoro. And so during that time, the actors were us, academia, the community, the user groups, the fishers, including women fishers, and the NGO. One particular NGO who actually is working very deeply with the villagers of Kumari. So NGO and academia and community. These were the three key stakeholders during this time. Now, through this research, through some archival research, through some ethnography, through all these other methods that I discussed, some participatory workshops, etc., we started identifying. We did a SWOT analysis. So we started, again, qualitatively identifying the strengths, opportunities, threats, and weaknesses, of this entire venture, inland fishing. And then in January 2022, that is just 1 year after this entire initiative. So I'm not going into the funding details, and also if you ask questions during the Q&A round, I'll be happy to discuss from where could we get the funding and what happened, those other details. Because now I'll just be quickly finishing the process of co-engagement with communities. So 2022, we had this participatory workshop in Kolkata. So one thing I must say that in between, we got some funding where the funders were interested to have, tangible knowledge products from us. That do you have a research? As social scientists, are you doing some research where you can actually not only give some suggestions to an article or a paper, but you actually deliver a very tangible knowledge product, which the communities can directly use and follow. So they wanted a very strong action research component. And this was the case which was already there. And actually the proposal was written by the community of the village. So I only just translated things in English and packaged it, and we submitted the proposal. And we were very lucky to get the fund from the Swiss agency. So, and the research continued for a few more months. 2022, we had another final workshop in Kolkata. And in March, the project was about to come to an end, and the knowledge product was a training module. So the idea was, by combining the scientific interventions and the community-based practices, we will develop a user-friendly training module, visually rich training module, which can then be followed by all 3,000 households in the village. So we were ready because everything was done. This was the final workshop, January 2022, and March 2022, we were about to develop and submit the training module to the funding organization. And this is the reason why we got the funds. In January 2022, just 3 months before the wrapping up of the project, the communities in the final participatory workshop in Kolkata, in the final session, the communities challenged us by saying that this is not a knowledge product. Because this training module generated through participatory research is still not a knowledge product. So we were very surprised, and we were very anxious also. And they said, if you just develop the training module out of this research, we, honestly speaking, we will not be using this. Because this will just be kept in our houses. this has no value in that sense. So we said, why? What is the problem here? So they said, because without, kind of implementing the knowledge into practice, without at least one experimentation done on the basis of the prescriptions laid out in this training module, how can you say, that you have been able to generate knowledge? Because knowledge can only be generated once through experiment, the whole chain is actually deployed in the field. So they wanted us to develop the training module as a bottom-up exercise, engaging multiple actors in hands-on fisheries production, management, and marketing. So our, idea about what is knowledge, what is assumptions, so also got very enriched from the inputs that came from the communities themselves. So what we understood as knowledge, we could understand from the community insights and interventions that this is not knowledge because these are assumptions. This has been done on the basis of research. But unless we apply this in a pond, following all the details that we mentioned in the training module, if we can only implement this in a pond, and then there will be deviations, of course, because what we suggest in the training module and when we do it in the field, there will be deviations, and those deviations will open new avenues of learning opportunities. So after being tried and tested and experimented and improvised, then only this knowledge, this training, these assumptions finally would translate into knowledge. So this was again a big task, and then we could actually convince the funding organization. They were actually happy with us because we were not successful. We failed. We could not deliver the product, but they were happy because they understood that that the success should not be measured on only the basis of a product, but success should be measured also on the basis of the process. So how participative was the process actually was. So they were happy, and our next fund for the project actually got approved, and we identified a space in the this is the space of which is the operational area for the NGO. So then together we started designing this space, and this pond was identified. This space also had a pond, so we identified this pond as the validation space where we will then be co-engaging, or rather all of us will be co-engaging together to actually translate the knowledge outputs into practice, into experimentation, and again continuous workshops. And so now what is very important is that the community raised a demand that the government departments have to be involved in the project. It should no more be only restricted between academia, NGO, and community, but also the government officials, the principal scientists from institutes like CIFRI, Central Inland Fisheries Research Institute. So we had to actually, do a lot of hard work and involve all these people here, and they also became attached to the entire experiment. And again, this was not easy in the sense that everything had to be translated in the vernacular language and streamlined, and feasibility mapping had to be done. And there were different steps, because when you actually do this, when you do the experiment, this is much more difficult than what you write. So, those small steps, small things, small components were broken down, and implementation started. So these are some snippets, some pictures about, the different steps of this pilot experimentation along with the community, or, mostly, absolutely, actually led by the community. So you can see the pond evacuation and the cleaning of the bed of the pond, then identification of the canal, which provided water to this ponds, and then, the removal of the predatory species, and every step's being documented, by the team. And you can also see some rituals also being practiced, the traditional local rituals which they practice during the time when they actually put the fish in the ponds, and also the time of fish harvest. So this is going on now, because this is at least a 1-year experiment. This will come to an end in December. Yeah, so I've just come to the final part of it, maybe just 1 or 1.5 minute of final conclusion. So what I would like to conclude by saying is that, we are very happy, and we also feel that we are very lucky. We are blessed that some of our other projects and our other funding organizations, they could actually They thought that, there is some sort of momentum in this project, some sort of vibrance in this project, because it's not only about giving prescriptions, but it's also about, the process and showing ways, or, learning and exchanging about ways through which social resilience can actually be thought about and practiced. So we got this project in which we will be for the next 3 to 4 years. This is SOR coding. This is an important call. This is also very important for all researchers, in the climate resilience and socio-ecological research, pursuing socio-ecological research. So this is SOR coding, solution-oriented research for development. This is a call which is actually funded by a consortium of Swiss funders, including Swiss Development Corporation, SNSF, Swiss National Science Federation, and several other organizations together. And what is remarkable about this, here you have the scope, the natural scientists, the social scientists, the people from civil society organizations, everyone can come together to actually practice and execute hands-on transdisciplinary research. So yes, I started with this diagram, and now, if you see the row below, this is how we are actually feeding, this template. And so this is going on. This is a tough job now, because a lot of things have to fall at place to make this experiment successful. But again, finally, I would also like to conclude by saying that what is success, what is failure, what is resilience, what is risk, the boundaries also get blurred when you do, when you engage in a particular context. What we understand by risks here may be very different from what we understand by risk within the context of Indonesia, for example. So this is very important that we actually have situated understandings and place-based explorations when we are discussing climate resilience. So if you allow, if there is just 2 minutes time, just 2 minutes, because there's a trailer, there's a small trailer because one of the outputs would also be a video documentary of 20 minutes, but this is just the 2 minutes trailer that my students team actually has produced. So if there is time, then if you can allow, I can play this 2 minutes trailer, or I'll just end here.
Yeah, I think it's okay, for only 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Just let me know if you can see this, or else just one second. I also shared the link here. So if Mada,
okay.
would you like to play this? I can stop sharing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Wait, I will try to play it. Wait. I think I have trouble to play it. I don't know why.
Okay, so should I try then?
Yeah, please.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, it's like some problem with the access.
No
oh yeah, okay. So you get.
Just let me know if it's audible and visible.
Yeah. Okay. Okay then.
Yeah.
It's still loading.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
We're still in the last presentation, not moving from the.
It's not moving, right?
The video. Yeah, not moving. So I think we should like drop the link in the chat box. So I'm sorry, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe
we cannot play in this. Yeah.
Or maybe
okay.
we can just even continue the session or the other presentation.
Yes.
During Q&A, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jenia. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, thank you very much for very nice presentation. Yeah, we have so many insight, and I note several things important that I can catch up. The first is about the importance of the social resilience as a part of the project became very useful approach for us to getting know and to get the vision of the project, and we have the tangible knowledge product. I mentioned this very interesting things, yeah, about the tangible knowledge product. And then I think I can slightly highlight about the process is important in this case, yeah, because you can get the local context directly from the local people. Because, yeah, by the time we know that the definition will be different between one place to another place, so it will be very contextual for that case. Very nice presentation, Jenia. I really love your presentation. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will move to our next presenter. We have Bu Artiningsih here. Hello, Bu Arti. Okay, so yeah,
Hello,
let me
Mada.
read a little bit. Okay, let me read a little bit curriculum vitae of Bu Arti. So Bu Arti is a head of Regional Development and Environmental Management Laboratory, and she's graduate from the graduate from the Gajah Mada University, and then several projects that Bu Arti conduct is about the rural urban transformation, community resilience, and we have all the spatial cognition. Really, Bu Arti, and then so we have also we have also several publication and research about the socio-ecological entrepreneurship. So I think it's really fruitful for combine the discussion with the Genias about the social resilience, and we will have the material from Buarti about more than Genius talk about. Yeah. So I think I would like to give the time to Buarti. Yeah. So Buarti will be wait, we will have the slideshow first. Okay, so the time is yours, Bu Arti.
Thank you, Bu Mada. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Intan, for help me sharing my presentation. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Let me present. This is my research in Semarang, Demak, and also Pekalongan. And my title is Transformative Adaptation of Coastal Area in Central Java. Okay, and yeah, the case study area are several villages and sub-district in city of Pekalongan, city of Semarang, and also Demak Regency. Okay, next. Yeah, we know that the coastal area of Pekalongan, Semarang, and Demak suffer from water-related disaster, such as coastal inundation, flood, land subsidence, abrasion, and decreasing mangrove ecosystems. And how we can learn from the community that the affected community will respond to those disasters. And it's very important to know the result of community learning process, so we can develop those learning process as their transformative adaptations. Okay, I also present illustration of permanent Indonesian at Timbul Sloko, Demak Regency in 2022. And also the temporary inundation at Pekalongan, yeah, in batik working space in Pekalongan City. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is part of my dissertation that community themselves recognize the transformation of space use in the city of Pekalongan in the northern part of the coastal area. And this is the cross-section that illustrated by community, and also maybe make some validation through the in-depth interview. And Okay, we know from this illustration that there are huge damage on the mangrove ecosystem at 1970. In the year of 1970, we know there are some paddy field and also jasmine plantation in the coastal area, but those species are altering into the tiger prawn ponds, yeah, because at the moment the export of tiger prawn are increasing, extremely increasing, because the demands from Japan and also US is also increasing. But the effect of those tiger prawn ponds in coastal area are damage the mangrove ecosystem. And in the 2014, there are only small mangrove left, and the tiger prawn also damaged and altered to polyculture milkfish and seaweed. So the paddy field and jasmine are no longer there, because there are salinity, the high salinity that stop their paddy field and jasmine production. And some of the farmers are adjust to learn a new thing to make some substitution on those livelihood into Fanami shrimp ponds. Okay, and next in time. Okay, this is how they respond on survival their livelihood by altering some mangrove land, damaging mangrove land into seaweed production, and also milkfish and tilapia pond as buffer zone and as other alternative for economic activity. But in this year, 2015, there are some intensive pond of Fanami shrimp in Pekalongan, and also the initiation of seaweed as a third alternative besides the milkfish and tilapia pond and also Fanami shrimp. And yeah, tiger prawn and also paddy field and jasmine plantation are no longer products. The production are stopped, yeah. No longer available. Okay. And this is the other area in Demak Regency. There are several villages, Timbul Soloko and also Bedono. In the year of 1995, the coastal area of Demak Regency are still fertile, have a fertile land with high productivity, such as paddy field and also other commodity like maybe capture fish, yeah, and also yeah, many vegetation on the coastal area are produced, yeah, besides paddy field. But in the 2000, the year of 2000, the severe coastal inundation at Bedono are happening, and during 6 years, some of Bedono inhabitants are moving out. And in the 2006, Senik Lama, one of village in Bedono, are maybe displacement are happen on Senik Lama. But the interesting one is there are a household left, name is Mukherjee, and she preferred to stay and start conserving mangrove. And until now, Mukherjee is the only household that live in those inundation area that left by most of the village inhabitants. And in 2010, the other village, Timbul Sloko, was a dry land. But the severe coastal inundation at Timbul Sloko happening at 2017, and some households start to move out. But now in 2022, the permanent inundation at Timbul Sloko is become the most common enemy for the villagers. Okay, and next, Intan. Okay, and this is the third case study from Semarang, that there are many stakeholders collaboration on flood control. So in our in-depth interview in 2022, they happily declared that all the problems solved during maybe 5 years from 2017 until 2022. And also there are self-help community, namely P5L, that manage the pump system, and also try to make some collaboration with the NGO and also the private sectors to financing the pump system management. But the interesting one is that the community are initiate the financing of those pump system in Pangunglor sub-district North Semarang. And then their place identity are improved, so the asset also leverage. I mean, the price land is increasing again because in the 1992 until 2015, the flooding has decreasing their price land and also their asset into maybe the bottom price. Yeah, so this flood control are maybe the great success for the community in Pangunglor sub-district in Semarang. But from this illustration, the timeline illustrations, the initial of coastal inundation and land subsidence are start in 1910. So maybe Pekalongan and also other area can learn from Semarang experience to managing their flood control through pump systems. Okay, and unfortunately, in the beginning of 2023, the flood is happening again, and yeah, maybe those community have to manage or innovate the pump system, yeah, supporting the local government programs. Okay, next. Okay, this is the illustration of community response on their settlements. Usually, people in the village or rural area elevated the house floor, yeah, by at least to manage the temporary inundations, yeah, and also they store their important assets in attic or develop the small room in the second floor, yeah, and some of them is very confident to demolish the old buildings and develop the new one. But in Semarang, maybe there are not just elevated their house floor or make some new buildings, but also they focusing on managing their pump system to control the flood. And this is the illustration of public mosque in Semarang. In 1910, there are 2 stories of this mosque, but in 2007, the first storage only left maybe 20%, and in the 2020, the 2 stories mosque is only be seen as 1 story left. Okay, maybe this response are different from place to place, but this is my model to maybe notice some critical points of community capacity building as a transformative adaptation attempt. Basically, I can divide into 4 milestones. First, the community that vulnerable, and those vulnerability only can be stopped, yeah, depend on their ability to move on. First, by accept and also forgive the surrounding ill structure and start to increasing the preparedness in flood and also tidal inundation. So by this, they can move into the next step. I call this survival steps, that they will survive in all efforts, yeah, to be independent from others by keeping their asset ownership as long as possible, and also making dwelling modifications. So this coping are referred to household, yeah, and when they learn more from others, from their neighborhoods, and also start to make some cooperation, those coping community lead to adaptation community. In this stage, they willing to cooperate with others to transfer their knowledge and also learn from others, and also improve their social and economic condition, and also environmental condition through modification of communal or public space, yeah, such as road and also public facility. And this adaptation will strongly develop their community network. And the end of this milestone is community resilience. So those community who can adapt and have a transformative adaptation will lead to the resilient states by make some social learning, and this social learning can achieve the social, economic, and environmental resilience through make some or innovate the sustainable livelihood alternatives, and also preparing those community readiness for reorganization for sustainable adaptation, and also develop the technological or institutional innovations. I think my presentation is simple and short, only give you insight, and I hope there are many opportunity for discussions. Thank you, Ibu Mada.
Yes, thank you very much, Bu Arti. Very nice presentation. So I note several things that very interesting in your presentation. Is about actually the trajectory of the adaptation itself. We have so many stages that very has very fruitful steps, and then every step has their own like the contextual and the capacity for the develop. So I think this will be bring us to very great discussion with all the participants here. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to not ask, yeah, sorry. I would like to give you as a chance to have a conversation discussion with our great today's speaker. So anyone, if you really want to ask with the direct conversation, you can raise your hand and you can directly ask to our presenter. But if you are not able to open the mic and etc., you can type your question in the chat box, and then I will read it to you. Yeah, okay. Okay, maybe we're still waiting for the participant for asking. Still not, okay. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm still waiting for the participant who want to ask the question to the Jenia and Bu Arti. So before we waiting, actually, I have several questions. Actually, Jenia, maybe I'm allowed to ask. It's okay. Yeah. The first thing is very interesting that how you can actually, as I understand your presentation, actually we have so basically we have that the different scale, right? So you have very micro level about the transboundary for the places, and then after that you try to grab it into zoom in more in this one area that particular in the village. Actually, this is my question because it's very challenging, I think. So actually, is there any things that maybe a little bit not only story, but also is there any challenge and how to with this like how is there any like solution if there is a challenge? So actually what kind of things that really different to make it in the macro level, and then you directly go jump to the very micro level? Okay, thank you, Jenia.
Thank you, Mada. I think this is a very, very pertinent question. And I will try to answer it in my own way, but I must also honestly confess that we are as a team also grappling with this whole thing. So I think so coming to the question of scale. So I think there are two things which we target at least through our big projects. So the big project was what was still last month, and we will be working with this for the next 3+1 year with the Bangladeshi collaborators as well. So as you can see, this is totally it's a transdisciplinary project. So which means that, all of us who are part of this project, we are equal partners. So most importantly, the community is the core, the center of the whole thing, because it is of them, for them, and by them. And then all other stakeholders coming into the picture with their own, experts, but with their own expertise and experience, and most importantly, the zeal and the passion to co-exchange and learn from each other. So co-learning is very much. So why I'm saying this when we are discussing scale, because the whole idea is that, that this is taking place at a very micro level. This is just one village, 4,500 households roughly, and 3,000 ponds. So even if the project is successful, it brings some change to the island village of Kuminman. And it establishes social resilience as a framework. But the scalability that I see here is of the model, but not of the process and not the numbers. Because, one is scaling up. So scaling up does not mean the same model. And this is unfortunately something which, the bureaucrats often tend to miss. Because when we provide universalized, standardized, same size fits all kind of solutions, that does not work out for diverse geographies, for different political, economic, contexts, right? So what we can do here is that, what can be scaled up. The inland fishing experimentation cannot be scaled up, even, the village which is just adjacent to Kuminman, because Kuminman, one major, how do I say, significance of this village is that 3,000 households at least have one pond in their household premise. But if you go to the other village, just adjacent to Kuminman, if you just go to Tipligiri, for example, another village, you will not find, household, because the land is very less. And the geographical setting and the political settings are very, very different. So how can we say that, let's try inland fishing everywhere in Sundarbans, and that is the only icon and the harbinger of social resilience? Because if there is no land, how can there be inland fishing? Because inland fishing, the key thing is land. And on land, there is the pond. And on pond, this experimentation can be. Then, where is the scalability of the project? The scalability of the project is about, the theorization and the, the different, the entire design about the model. How different stakeholders, different actors, different agencies can actually come together, study, as you pointed out, in a zoomed in, following a zooming in approach, can actually, study the place-based, geography-specific attributes and configurations of this area, and then, come together to have a design and deployment. So, and the final thing connected to this is also about not only scaling up, but also scaling out. So how, in the project of itself, so first it was totally, with the community, their knowledge, their skills. The alternative that they were compelled to try out, when so many other risks were there. So then, we got into the picture. Then, the NGO and GRO and us together, we started, assisting and giving a support to the system. And then the bureaucrats and the technocrats were chipped in. So it is also about scaling out. So now the idea is that the training module, it is a local knowledge product. It is going to be a local knowledge product. But, with this, we will be mobilizing the policymakers. So it becomes part of the policy guideline as well, where people start having faith on, on the island villages and on the island villagers. That, they should not be just, there should not be some prescription asking them to move out from this space. There are a lot of other alternatives. So how transdisciplinary, through transdisciplinary social, ecological, and resilience research, a lot of learnings can actually be learned and things can be co-envisioned.
Okay, yeah, wow, this very great experience, I guess, yeah, how to make it like blend together into in the different scale, not only like scale down, but the scale up and then spread out. So I think we have to make it not only in a horizontal, vertical, etc., but also disperse. I cannot imagine, but actually, yeah, this very great challenge, yeah, for this kind of like a project, but. Yeah, thank you very much for the answer. I'm sorry, I cannot do more. because we have one question here. And actually, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, you can directly raise your hand and I will allow you to ask directly to the presenter. Okay. Bulandung, you have a question, please, Ibu.
I have to be honest with Jenia because your presentation really moved me. At the moment, I have many experiencing in doing gender-based research, and the way you mobilize women and all the community to have their voices to be heard and transform it into knowledge production is really insightful. But maybe can you share some strategy how to give this community the braveness? How can they share or at least tell their experience to us so that we know what kind of movement or strategy to help them, and then we build up this action to be scaled up. This is the most classical problem we have in Indonesia. When people feeling so hesitate to express their opinion, ideas, the policy mobilization is not success. So maybe you can share your success story or any kind of experiences of doing this. Thank you, Jenia.
Yeah, thanks, Landung. And I'm very happy that that you are asking these questions. It means that all of you are also now part of this. So this is so I think this is how we have to keep mobilizing people. So there are a lot of challenges. These questions of scales are, of course, these are very big questions. But at the same time, I think small steps and also things that are there in our cognitive level, in our mindset, those also needs to be changed to an extent. So, for example, I am actually supposed to do more desktop research or maybe some kind of field, but we are not kind of activists. So this is what were taught to us by our social sciences departments. So whenever we wanted to have something radical, so they were always, and I'm not blaming my teachers. They wanted good for us only. It is nothing. There is nothing bad in that. But they wanted a safe scape for all of us. That okay, you make prescription. You evolve as a very good researcher, and the best you can do, you can actually create some perspectives for actions. That's. But you are not an activist. You cannot go to a field and start doing things. But I think. So I completed my PhD like 12 years back, and I was in my master's 15 years back, right? So this message, I think, all the students are also here. So this is also my, how do I say, my plea to the students and to everyone, all of us, is that no more, Anthropocene has actually blurred these boundaries between who is an academician, who is a community, who is a researcher. So that's not those are not key questions. The key question is how we can come together, how we can harness all our experiences and roles and responsibilities and expertise together so that, small things, but with sustainable ends can actually start getting initiated at least. So this project, I think it is just the beginning, but it is beginning in the sense that, yes, this is small again in terms of its scale, but I think this is huge in terms of, every step that we are taking, very small step, but always we have, this, always we brainstorm, always we critically try to think about the life of the project during the afterlife of the project. So the project will come to an end after 3 years or after 4 years. Then what will happen? So would we be able to, kind of mobilize and kind of, communicate this whole thing to those levels where, this message needs to be communicated. And the best thing about this SOR4, the Solution-Oriented Research for Development project, is that from the very beginning, it actually provides a scope and the platform to engage with, regional level and also global level actors, so that there can be, direct global to local connection between what is taking place, what is happening, the different initiatives, the different exercises, the different activities in the field, and the way climate change policies and discourses and resilient planning is done. But positive part of the story is that the direction is already there. People are keen to move into this direction. But the challenging part is that of course, there are a lot of unexpected consequences when we trade through this path. But I think all of us, it's not our project. It is, it's like, so what I said, just with this only, I would like to, conclude this answer, the question that Landon provided, that, now you know the story. This is also yours. So, so this is the way through which I think this mobilization, continuous mobilization has to be done. And there are digital tools and platforms. So we are also using all the digital tools and platforms. Most importantly, there will be this Engage website, which will be launched next month in Bangladesh. And through the website, we can do a lot of things. And today, like with audio-visual tools, with ethno-visualization techniques, I think, the Landon, what you mentioned, that yes, I am still saying this story. But it would be good if the community, some women, for example, they can actually tell, if you can hear them. And this is actually possible now. You don't need to come to the Sundarbans if it's not feasible right now, but you can actually hear their voices. They can be vocal, they can be the agents, they can make their voices, they can make space in the digital platforms and website. And we can also design the digital template in a very inclusive and participatory way. So that is also one of the aims of this project.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenia. Bu Landung, it's very fruitful discussion, yeah, from Jenia.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually we have another person who raised the hand here, and we have several question in the chat box. So I think maybe if we have time, maybe we will allow Jenia and Bu Arti to maybe explain a little bit from the question from the chat box. Yeah. So I would like to give the chance to Intan. You can ask directly to the speaker, please, Intan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Mada, for the time. Thank you, Bu Jenia and Bu Arti, for your presentations. I learned a lot from what your explanation, especially related to the adaptation and climate change or community climate change adaptations. I want to know, I want to ask in general, like how related to the transformative adaptation. Like we know that transformative adaptation to climate change require attention to the type of capacity building that can support, like previously on Bu Arti and Dr. Jenia present slides. Besides that, we know also communities are also highly vulnerable to the climate risk. So we think that it is important to build their capacity to adapt locally and to integrate their perspective into the higher level adaptations measures. So in the end, we can reach the resilience condition. Meanwhile, mostly maybe the current adaptation policy does not pay sufficient attention, or not really put attention to this related to the adaptation policy related to the community. My question is, do you think that adaptation policy also could provide more guidance and support for community level, like transdisciplinary process that can enable the transformative adaptation in the community? Like, how to say, I want to know your opinion related to this, to Bu Jenia and Bu Arti. Thank you so much.
I think Arti is she has more expertise on this.
Yeah, please, Bu Arti.
Okay, thank you, Jenia. Thank you, Intan, for the questions. And based on my experience in this participatory research, there are various situations in its area. So maybe in Pekalongan, but my research is on maybe it's about 2016, yeah, and that year the toll road is not constructed yet, and also the resilience community are depend on those seaweed productions, yeah. but now after toll road is already constructed, and also the mangrove plantations become very small, only on the small area, and I think the seaweed is also threatened by the high of sedimentation. So I no longer contact my key persons, but now I heard that their struggle to live is depend on the informal sectors in the city, but also they engage on many batik production, because Pekalongan has known as one of maybe the best batik productions in Central Java. Yeah, now based on their quantity of production and also the less price compared to others. But in Demak, the toll road constructions are very give the huge impact, but one have some maybe positive impact, but the others only get the negative impact, because the sedimentation is maybe in the highest level compared to 10 years or some years ago. So those ponds is also no longer give some profitable efforts to the community in some areas. Only the areas with mangrove conservation is good enough to protect their coastal area. They can have some maybe profit for the from the fisheries, and I think the dynamic of the situation is unpredictable for some of those people who inundated permanently, especially for example in Timbul Sloko. So in my model of transformation adaptation, I think the government is maybe not noticed that the community are depend on the livelihood that determined by those various what we say, the various physical infrastructure development. So the government only consider about the infrastructure to avoid the maybe the to avoid the huge damage. But from my experience on this research, the people are dissatisfied with those physical development. Yeah, because that when people is only learn about the fisheries production, and those activities no longer suitable for them, so they have to learn new things. And now I think people in Denmark are depend on those informal sectors in online transportation, in industry, and etc. But maybe the different special case is Semarang, because Semarang people are the livelihood are depend on the urban economics. Yeah, so is it okay for them to entering the informal or formal sectors in trading or maybe industry in the North Semarang, but they are focusing on only on their settlement situations. So controlling the flood by managing the pump systems so far is, I think, is the most successfully effort from those local communities, and the local government also support by other program related suitable related program. I think this is my answer. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Bu Mada.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you,
Thank you. Jenia, you will add something maybe?
Yes,
Please?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will work. Let me try. Can you see this?
Yeah.
We saw
It's your
email.
email, right?
You,
Your Gmail.
you only see my Gmail, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just one second.
You want to show something, Jenia?
Yes.
Oh yeah, great. Okay.
Yes, one second.
Yes. Okay. While waiting, Jenia deal with the screen, I think actually if you have any question, you can type in the chat box, or you can directly raise your hand. We still have a time. Actually, we still have like 20 minutes again. So we have several chat from the text box that directly. Okay, so yeah,
Can you
please,
see this
Jenia.
now?
Yes, great. But I cannot hear the voice actually. Is there any voice there?
Is it freezing?
No, not freezing, but it's going well for the video, but I cannot hear the voice or the sound, sorry.
But you cannot see it, right?
Great. Great.
You can see?
Yes, I can see and I can hear. So it's great.
Okay, so yes, so I'll start first.
Please. Yeah.
প্রতিনিয়ত দিচ্ছে না, কিন্তু সেইগুলো সেই দেওয়াটাকে ঠিকঠাক নয় এবং ভালো টেকনোলজি দেওয়ার মতো ভালো মানুষ আমরা এখানে সুন্দরবনের শেষ করে আনতে পারি। কথা বলি আমরা আলোচনা করলাম সবসময় সবাই অ্যাকশনটা কি হয়। করে নেব গণপর্যটন জমিটা একটা সুন্দর একটা স্পেস এখানে তৈরি হয়েছে। এই জায়গাটাকে আমরা কেন্দ্র করে ছোট ছোট কতগুলো সাকসেস স্টোরি আমরা তৈরি করতে পারি মানুষের নিজেদের যে জ্ঞান সেটার ভিত্তি। আমি আমাদের মাথায় দিয়ে বাচ্চা পাওয়া মাছের জন্য মিনিমাম 5 ডিগ্রির অক্সিজেন দরকার।
Yes, so this is just the trailer, and the idea was to familiarize you with Sundarbans and the people.
Yeah, great for the context, right? Very interesting for the village, right? Yeah. Okay. Jenia, you want to add you want to add something maybe from
Yes,
the
the
question of
last question,
Intan?
right? Yes,
And actually, I'm sorry, I have to make it in a group. I have to merge several questions. Actually, maybe you want to say something about the Intan question if you want. And actually, we have one question from Novita. It's a question for you and Bu Arti actually in the chat box. It's about like the advantages and the combine between another innovative ways in transferring climate change adaptation knowledge, actually like how to combine the knowledge project in the community climate change adaptation. Actually, this is the question from the Novita.
yes,
And actually, yeah, maybe we can you
yeah.
can answer it, please.
Yes, so I think like I see two questions which are also connected by Novita, and the last one by Salma.
Yeah.
Also on how to create conditions for a resilient community that is sustainable, and what about the enforcement and monitoring mechanisms. So I think there's the two questions that are very important in the sense that yes, this combination of knowledge is very, very important, and that is why one particular terminology or conceptual fraction which is very much in vogue these days, again in socio-ecological resilience research, is knowledge co-production. So knowledge co-production is actually about this. Absolutely, this is so. What is co? So we don't use knowledge production anymore. We say knowledge co-production, and this co-production I think is a very strong word because it captures the essence of providing voice and agency to everyone. Because all the actors, whether they come from academia or their user groups, they have certain knowledge, and knowledge cannot be gained only through one particular specific sets of sources. There are various sources, there are various mechanisms, there are various methods through which knowledge can actually be gathered and gained, and knowledge can actually be contributed with. So as I come from the discipline of history, actually. So before moving into interdisciplinary research, I was anchored in the domain of history. And then I did, I specialized in environmental history. So in history, we know that, how during the time of scientific revolution in the West, so the scientific revolution occurred in 17th century in Europe. And it was part of, Renaissance or rebirth of modern Europe. And we all know that how, through scientific revolution and through several other knowledge domains, the Westerners, Europe, Anglo-American, geography, completely hijacked the knowledge from us. And, the things got extremely colonized after that. So now there is a move towards decolonizing knowledge and decolonizing science. So the way through which knowledge can be decolonized, sciences can be decolonized, sustainability sciences can be thought from a more inclusive perspective, is to actually combine the ideas and skills and knowledge and experience and expertise of everyone to co-produce knowledge. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, definitely, all these knowledge snippets should make way to co-produce knowledge, and sustainability science can only be harnessed through knowledge co-production. Only through mainstream, Western knowledge. We have seen, the damages of mainstream Western knowledge on the colonies, on the global South, on, the other non-Western contexts. So yes, knowledge has to be decolonized, knowledge has to be dehegemonized, and everyone, who are part of this entire initiative, all the actors, they should, there should be mechanism, there should be smart design through which these voices can actually be heard, documented, and implemented. So this is one. And the second one, I think from Salma, about like how resilient, how community, what was the question exactly? Yeah. So how, what are the conditions? How can we create conditions for a resilient community? So this is an interesting question, because, you know, this also, like, I would like to answer it by also drawing some examples from urban resilience. So Kolkata as a city, like Semarang, so it has some similarities with Semarang for sure, because Kolkata is also a delta city. Huh? Now, the thing is that, you know, the lot of funding, lot of money is being invested to make Kolkata, to transform Kolkata into a resilient city. I would like to say, you know, very critically, that the very step or the very idea that, you know, resilience has to be built or created in a city, it's a wrong idea. Because it is, I mean, the existing conditions are already there. How a city or how any region function. So what are the means to which a particular region actually functions, and what are the reasons that let a particular region, you know, cease its functions? So we don't need to plan and impose resilience, you know, from above. So resilience is not a top-down construct or a concept, but it's very, very bottom-up. And what is very important is to actually identify and find out the ways through which resilience, you know, as a dynamic thing, continuously is getting shaped and reshaped, and it is evolving in tune to several other, you know, enabling and disabling factors that are there in the socio geomorphological tapestry. So we don't need to create resilience. Resilience is there. We need to find out ways through which, you know, we can actually understand and identify this.
Okay, thank you, Jenia. Yeah, actually we have several questions again from Anita, right? Okay, maybe Bu Arti and Jenia can read in the chat box. We have
Yes.
one
So maybe
question
very
from Anita.
quickly, yeah, I think Arti has also answered, but just
Yes.
very quickly, maybe I would like to refer one book by a political
Yes.
psychologist, and his name is Christian Kall. He's based at the University of Lausanne, and this is a fantastic book on Madagascar, which will actually critically interrogate and inform some of our so-called standardized ideas about the community there, who practice you know, what's that called, shifting, slash and burn forms of agriculture. So then what happens then? How the colonizers come here? Then what happens to their resilience? Then how again, you know, like Madagascar, now the different aid agencies start struggling. Then the impacts on the community. But then again, how the community come up with their own resilient voices and what is happening. So it's a very complex story of mainly focusing on a particular community. The agriculturists, the people who pursue slash and burn form of agriculture. But there's a fascinating book, you know, an example of using history, using long-term, you know, temporal scales to discuss critical issues and their intersections, you know, community resilience, peace, disasters, colonial interventions, and so on.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jenia. So maybe I will invite Bu Arti to maybe wrap up several questions into a statement, because we have so many questions here. Or maybe you can make it in a merge some question. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Mada. Okay, and maybe from the question, okay, from Novita, I think, yeah, she asks about the transfer knowledge through the local organization, and I have answered that we can use any type of community organization, and also give them some examples from other community or success story, how they can tackling their problem, and also lead to adaptation or resilience community. And for sorry, okay. Sorry. Okay, and also for Anita. This is difficult questions actually. Maybe I think we can move forward, not to try to finding who are wrong or right. Maybe just to consider more about the problem solving. Yeah, and I think the integration of many aspects from many stakeholders is important to solve not only the physical problems, but also the social and economic problems. And maybe I can underline that Indonesia are facing a water disaster in the northern part of Java, coastal area in Java, not only on the central Java province, but now the Indonesia government are prefer to consider more about the physical development by constructing many infrastructure such as toll road, and also to protect the coastal area. But this is only the temporary effort, I think, because this development only satisfied the community. Maybe it's about 5 years or 10 years, but after that the severe damage are happening. So maybe the social and also economic aspect have to be more considered. And I think the from the Jenia's presentation, we can learn that some of transfer knowledge is important, and the guidelines, we can make the guidelines from learning process from the community, and also make them as a maybe module of training, something like that, for FGD, and also how to conserve the mangrove ecosystem as one of solution, not only for the environment aspect, but also to create the fishery as a sustainable, or aqua culture as a sustainable livelihood for the coastal community. I think this all, Mada.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Arti. Actually, it's very nice presentation, very nice discussion, and very good question actually. Yeah, but I'm so sorry that we have a run of time. So before we jump to the closing session, I would like to invite again Jenia and Bu Arti to give your closing statement, or maybe like short closing statement about, yeah, actually the community climate change resilience is something really have to care about. So maybe you have some closing statement short to all of us. So I would like to give the first turn to Jenia. Please, Jenia.
Yes, I think first of all, I would like to offer my again thanks and gratitude to the university, to the organizers, the moderator, to the Arti, to Landong, Mada, to all the enthusiastic, very enthusiastic student participants, because from the questions it is quite evident that they concentrated throughout the session, which is also very important, because it's not always that in the online presentations that the concentration levels remain high. So I think this is my closing message would be that that this is the Anthropocene again, and no more we can operate within silos, and there has to be some ways, there has to be that zeal there has to be that motivation and passion, because all of us who are looking forward to climate change and resilience research, whether it is whether it is a cityscape or it is region or anywhere, or even the city region the intersection. Maybe we can also, some of us are also would also work in peri-urban areas. So wherever we work, in whichever geographies, and with whoever communities, what is very important is that climate change and resilience research has to have a very significant axiological component apart from only epistemological contributions. And we have to come up with methodologies, very innovative, critical, participatory, inclusive, transdisciplinary methodologies through which this transition from the epistemological to the axiological pathway can actually take place. So all of us together should envision a very just and climate resilient, sustainable world.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenia. So, okay, for the next turn will be Bu Arti. Please, Bu Arti.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jenia. I think the inclusive development and also how we can simplify our strategy from methodological, maybe advanced methodological into the simple way that a community understand and also can easily engage with others, with local government and also private sectors and other stakeholders to minimize the risk and also develop the community capacity into better or greater resilience. I think that's all. Thank you, Jenia, for your insight and also
Thank you.
the.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenia and Bu Arti. Last but not least, we still have one closing remark from our head of department, Urban and Regional Planning. I would like to say hello to Prof. Wiwi. Hello, Ibu.
Hello, Mada. I'm sorry for being late, but I'm joining the almost all actually of the session.
Great. So yeah, please, Ibu, can give some closing remark from us. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to also express my gratitude to Jenia. Hello, Jenia. Thank you for nice to meet you, and look forward to have you in person a couple months from now, hopefully. And yeah, and I can introduce you with Bu Arti and also with the site that Bu Arti inform us, hopefully in Pekalongan, and we can do some interesting comparison or something like that. And also, of course, I would like to express my gratitude to Bu Arti, Bu Mada, and last but not least, to the organizer, to Bu Landung and Intan for the great work so we can manage this session, and also to all participants. I really happy to have a very fruitful and discussion, and look forward to have our participants, for the students, I look forward to have interesting research on the subject, and also, of course, maybe possible collaboration with you, Jenia.
Yes.
Thank you. I offer back to Mada. Terima kasih, Mbak Mada.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Wiwi. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much for all the participants. Thank you very much for all the speaker, all the audience here. I would like to invite you to open the camera if possible. We will have like a photo session together. So I would like to, okay, so please, we have like 3 pages here. So please, if you are available to open your camera, please, I invite you. Hello, Pak Ruku. We have Pak Ruku here. Hello. And we have Pak Anang also. And I would like to ask for another person to open the camera. Okay, so yeah, while waiting, I think I have to ask another person here. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Pak Gunawan. Hello. We have also all the participants.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so
Welcome.
Yeah, okay. So we would like have a photo session. I will counting 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Please give your very best smile to all of us. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, great. We have done one first pages, and then we will jump to the second pages. We have 60% here. Okay, and we will have the last pages. Okay, so thank you very much for all the participants. Thank you very much. I would like to say sorry if there are any inconvenience during this session. So please stay in touch because we will have another a series of the international lecture series in urban and regional department. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you. Yeah, I'm
all.
sorry I'm still on my trip nih Bu Mada, Jenia and Bu Arti.
Okay.
Yeah,
Safe
bye-bye.
trip, Ibu.
Okay.
Safe
Thank you,
trip.
Thank
Ibu.
you. Yeah,
Bye. Safe
bye.
trip. Bye. Have a long
You.
weekend, everybody.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.